Riding the bikes up to the gas station. Getting our workout in. Just a little one. Alright, cold start. I gotta get a new upper radiator hose because it's leaking a little bit. I just got the cap loose, so it's keeping pressure off the system. And I gotta get a different way to get a throttle bracket because I'm only getting about half throttle with that rigged up stuff. And I gotta do away with that old return line that I did, do away with the factory lines, and get this to where it's visible and not hanging and putting stress on the hose. Let's see if this thing will crank up. Cold natured. Put it in gear, see what happens. Not too bad without a stall. Which the 268 they said is the max with a factory stall, so that's about right. I'll bring it up about another 100 RPM and call it good. Really need to get my hands on a 4-barrel intake. Okay, it's drizzling a little bit, it just started. So I've got this thing to where it's pretty dialed in. Kind of everything is kind of like temporarily ran. Like I got the brake booster hooked up to the intake. That was just a piece of hose I had laying around. I am going to get some new hose for that. I need to remove the old air box. I got to get a breather for it. And I'm fixing to extend this TPS sensor because the original throttle body, you know, on the straight sixes, they came up and then over. Throttle body set there, and this just plugged into the side of the throttle body. So I got to extend these 3 wires over, and then I have my, well, I didn't bring it out. Anyways, TPS sensor is going to sit on the side, and it's going to run off of that screw right there to move the sensor as the throttle blade moves. See what I'm saying? When you press the throttle, it moves it. So all of that's going to come off. It'll just be that screw, and I'll have a notch cut out on each side to fit inside the sensor to turn it. Okay, so I spliced into the harness right there. I got to get some wire loom. I got it ran up and over. Okay, I made me a little bracket out of aluminum. Right, a little bracket out of aluminum. I mounted it where the old manual choke used to go, or electric choke, whichever this carburetor had at the time when it was new. And I bolted it there, mounted my sensor to it, and then I spaced it out enough to where it's straight up and down and not binding up. And what I did is, like I said, the screw that goes into that throttle blade, throttle shaft, I just cut a V out on each side to match up with the shape of the sensor that's spring loaded in there, the little thing that turns. And it works fine. Let's see if I can give it some gas for y'all. It's kind of tight because I got a spring on it. Now the only thing I got to figure out is this janky throttle cable deal I got going on. I got to figure out a way to make that better. But I think I'm gonna go try to test drive this thing. All right, there we go. So far, so good. And it shifts. How about that? That's how you get the E4OD to work with a carburetor. Keep your computer and just use the sensors you need. There we go. Overdrive, doing about, my speedometer is about 5 miles an hour off, so I'm really doing 55 at just under 1500. Cruising good, no problems. I got to get the temperature gauge hooked up and a few other odds and ends, but other than that, so far so good. Made it back home. I don't have my temperature gauge hooked up yet, but I took the end of it and stuck it down on the radiator, and about 190 or so. Wife's already got the old F-150 to work. Got me going to pick her pizza up. How about that? Domino's. Okay, now what I'm going to do with the rest of this harness, say I need the temperature sensing unit plug, I need, let's see, what was that one? That one was the air charge temperature sensor, which I don't need anymore. All these were the injector plugs, and this one was the low oil pressure sensor, which I still need that. So basically I'm just going to unwrap it all. I'm just going to keep this one, which it actually broke when I took it off, so I got to get that out of there. Anyways, so I'm just going to trace them all back. Keep, like I said, keep this one, and then whatever ones up here that I don't need, I'm just going to cut them back. Or I may just cut them underneath here, and then that way when I wrap it up, you don't see a bunch of empty wires here, or cut wires here. That's probably what I'll do. And then make it look good, and then I'll just plug this back up into the main harness and we'll be good. All right, there's my contraption. I found my old, or I still had my old plastic casing that went on here, and I just cut out, well, I say cut, it snapped, but it snapped in a perfect spot where I could still mount my float up. Now I'm hoping that the feed tube that goes to the bottom of the tank doesn't get in the way of the float being on empty, but we'll see. I'm gonna test fit it and see how I can maneuver it, or if it'll just work out. You know, nothing ever goes perfect, so I'm sure I'm gonna have to fiddle with it. Picking Jackson up in Ole Blue.
Hi.
So far so good. Gas gate's still working. This thing's kind of a gas guzzler, but I'll get it tuned out. Give me an air fuel gauge and put in here. Ole Blue is doing good. All the gauges work now. Got the temperature gauge working, oil pressure, voltage, gas gauge, everything. Speedometer. This is that damn check engine light's gonna stay on because, you know, it's carbureted now. I don't need to check no engine. We're good. Ole Blue's putting in work. Carburetor swap going good so far. Back at the wildlife refuge with my boy Jackson. We're gonna probably do about a 10-mile easy ride before it gets too hot. And man, I'm loving to have my truck back, man. I am loving every minute of it. Alright, man, Jackson out for a ride. Alright, here's a little welcome center, and give you some information about the wildlife refuge. The map that we took, the one that me and Jackson just took, is right here, the trail. So we parked here, and then we went around, and then we stopped and came back, turned around and came back. But what I was talking about, there's one across the street that goes up. This actually can go all the way around, and it splits in a couple different ways, or you can go down and come back, and there's some parking down there too. Pretty cool.